Our WyoPreps fan voted game of the week this week is a top 2 showdown in Class 4A as the top-ranked Sheridan Broncs host number 2 Cheyenne Central. On the phone with me is Sheridan head coach Jeff Mowry. Off to a 2-0 start and 2 dominating victories for your squad. You might have a different perspective than I do, but at least on the scoreboard they were that way. Jeff, what have you seen out of your team in the first 2 games?
You know, David, you're exactly right. On the scoreboard we had pretty good dominating performances, and I think that early on the biggest thing about weeks 1 and week 2 in football is how much you're growing. And so, you know, I think the same things that happened at our practices and within weeks 1 and 2 is our kids have really worked hard and done a good job, and we've continued to pick apart film and do our job as coaches to make them improve as student athletes.
Has there been anything that's surprised you or concerned you through the first 2 games?
Within ourselves, no. We've had a lot of people touching the ball, which is exciting as an offensive coordinator to see how many guys can touch the ball and still do good things with it, have multiple weapons. And I expected that, and we've seen that. Our offensive line returned some experience, and they've been doing a good job up front running the ball. And, you know, the same as it has gone for our defensive line. They've done a good job stopping the run. We got a real big test coming this week with Cheyenne Central, and so I think it'll be exciting to see how we stack up against the big dogs.
I was going to ask you, is this kind of a measuring stick for you to maybe, whatever the outcome, kind of learn and grow from, Jeff?
You know, I think absolutely. After those first couple of weeks, it would be easy to have our confidence get real big and you know, kind of get ahead of ourselves. And I think this is going to be a true test of where we're at compared to the rest of the state. You see Cheyenne Central has 2 big wins over the Casper schools, and that's a difficult task. I think their strength of schedule has been a little more challenging than ours, and I'm excited to see how we stack up against somebody that has played 2 of the bigger schools in our state.
What do you see when you look at Cheyenne Central in terms of kind of what your expectations are Friday night?
Oh, man, they bring a great squad to town. They return a ton of starters on offense and defense. They played a lot of juniors last year, and I think 10 of the 11 on defense are seniors this year, and I think 9 of them started last year. I don't know those exact numbers, but it's a large majority of them. And some incredible athletes. Number 9, Andrew Johnson. Andrew, just a great athlete, fast. Anytime he touches the ball, can take it to the house, or if it's on the defensive side of the ball, he's going to pick you off. And so same thing happens with number 7, safety for them. He's got 3 picks. I think they're leading the state with interceptions and turnovers. You know, they're just a tough, physical defense, and then offensively, they can score from everywhere. They got twin tight ends with Storbo boys that you know are 250 pounds. In most places, they're tackles, but they run so well. They got them at tight end, and they split them out at wide receiver, and they're a nightmare to match up with. So, you know, and then you throw in a running back that, oh, by the way, has gone over 100 yards a couple times already. So their offense is fast and scores a lot of points, and their defense is physical. I think we got our work cut out for us.
Don't want you to give away your game plan, but what are some things that you hope to see out of your squad in a big matchup like this on Friday? Anytime
you face a team like this, you got to find out who can run the ball. And I hope that we can come out and run the ball on these guys. And, you know, I think anytime you can run the ball and establish yourself a little bit on offense, that makes it more difficult on their defense. And they got a lot of players that play both ways. And so if we can establish the run and try to wear them down a little bit, that's going to help us on both sides of the ball. Defensively, you know, we've got to be extremely disciplined with their offense and how many different ways they can attack it. We've got to be disciplined with our defensive responsibilities, and then if we have an opportunity for a fumble or an interception, we've got to capitalize on that, because a good team like that isn't going to give you an opportunity very often, and when you do have one, you better take advantage.
It doesn't look like one guy has kind of stood out over anybody else on your squad, Jeff. Do you like that kind of team aspect? I know Garrett got a lot of the attention last year, talking about Garrett Kuhn, last year's Gatorade Player of the Year, and there were other guys that contributed. But do you like that kind of more team aspect that you have this year, maybe?
I absolutely do like that as an offense. You know, when I get to call plays, you know, I don't think the defensive coordinators can necessarily lock in on one player or another, where last year I think they could have. You know, you mentioned Garrett Kuhn. He's a tremendous football player and is, you know, extending his career up in Montana State. And well-deserved. But I think the defense last year said, hey, we have got to stop Garrett Kuhn, and then we have a shot to beat this team. And, you know, I'd love it if we could keep a balanced attack through the air and on the ground, but also giving multiple people carries throughout our season. And then the defense is, you know, you can't lock in on one thing. You've got to be disciplined in all aspects of your defense.
I appreciate the time today, Jeff. Best of luck Friday against Cheyenne Central.
I sure appreciate it. Thanks, David.
Our big game of the week this week from WyoPreps.com, as voted on by you, the fans, is a 1-2 showdown in Class 4A with number 2 Cheyenne Central going to top-ranked Sheridan. On the phone with me is the head coach of the Cheyenne Central Indians. That's Mike Apodaca. Mike, thanks so much for your time today. And talk a little bit about your team's off to a 2-0 start. What have you seen from your squad in the 2 wins thus far, Coach?
I think our experience is showing. We played a lot of young guys, when we first got here, just kind of due to numbers and that sort of thing. So I think you're starting to show some experience coming out, and I think that showed in some early and fast starts, kind of knowing the system and feeling good about where they were at sort of thing. So I think that's one thing that stuck out early.
You had a big win in week 0 2 weeks ago at Natrona where your squad had to rally in the fourth quarter. What did that show you kind of early on about kind of their perseverance through some tough times in a football game?
Yeah, they did. They really showed how to handle adversity. And, you take the things you can from games like that. And, we started off hot and, kind of lulled there in the middle. And, I'm not sure that if we'd have won that game in some sort of, I don't think you're ever going to blow out Natrona per se, but maybe, in an easier cruise that we would have learned a lot about ourselves. And so coming out of that and facing a little adversity and getting a W behind it, I think really, set them up for, at least some confidence that they can finish games.
You have some terrific individual student athletes, and I know it's more of a team game when it comes to football, but talk a little bit about Andrew Johnson, your senior, and just what he means to you. And he had a great junior year, Coach, but he seems to maybe be elevating his play his senior year.
I think you're right, and it's fun to watch that when it does happen to a senior kid like that. He was good before, and sometimes they can rest, but Andrew's really just taken on owning, trying to be the best kid on the field at every given night, and we've seen that just throughout the course of games this year, but more importantly, when some big plays needed to happen, he's really risen to the occasion, and that's really, spearheaded, some of our success early.
Obviously, you've got a great balanced attack with Carter in the backfield, plus the Storbo twins outside, I'll throw in Nathaniel Talich. But you've got a different quarterback this year. What have you seen in Andy Cummins' adjustment coming up from down south?
I honestly, he was probably a rockier start than you'd hope, but it makes sense. Him and Nate really competed well for that position early on, and I was really proud of the way Nate came and battled. And, but with that, you also ended up splitting reps for, really the first 2 weeks of camp. And, a kid coming into the system probably needed as many reps as he could, but we wanted to make sure that, we really were just going to try to put our best team together. And, the way it played out is, right now Nate would be having a pretty good season himself, I think, as a quarterback. But Nate also brings so much to the table that, we thought Andy could really shore up what we were trying to do. And so I thought, this week in practice, I felt like maybe the first week for Andy that he really felt comfortable in what we were doing completely. And so I think his ceiling is high. I'm not sure that we've even seen the best of him. And, and we're excited about, how he's fit in.
Now you get another big test, Coach. It hasn't been easy on you, the schedule, guys. You go to Trona, Kelly Walsh, who's improved, and now you get top-ranked Sheridan on the road. What are your thoughts about facing the Bronx this week?
This sounds a little coach cliche maybe, but in some regards they're fun to watch, and it may seem weird coming from the opposing coach, but you really see why they've had the success that they've had. Is it's really a culture down there, and you see it on the field. And I know they take pride in it. And as we're still trying to build this thing, I think it's good for our kids to see kind of what it looks like, and that's credit to what they've done up there. And it kind of looks the same, and that's what's impressive about it. They just get kids that work hard, and they've got good athletes and strong physical kids up front, and that sort of thing. And so I think we can learn from it more than maybe have to fret about it, to be honest with you. And I think we're still playing catch up to them, but David, I do think that it's the right game at the right time for us, to be honest with you. I'd rather have them early and just kind of find out where we're at than, maybe later on and have false hopes or something. So, it's going to be a great test for it. Our kids are excited about it, and, it's a great place to play high school football.
I don't want you to give away your game plan or anything, but what do you look at as some things that you've got to see out of your team Friday to give you a chance in that game?
I think we match up well in terms of abilities,
Okay.
sort of thing this year. And maybe, that was part of the headache the last couple of years I've been here. Is not sure we just matched up well with them. And so I think we match up well, and I think now it really comes down to playing a clean game and playing, through 48 minutes. I really do think that when we look back on it on, whatever side we're on, is that's what we'll be able to evaluate, where we're able to, lessen our mistakes, because, we've talked to the kids over the last 2 weeks that, the crucial mistakes we've made in these first 2 games, those are things that obviously Sheridan just runs you out of the house, especially at their place if we make those. So if we can be clean and our kids can just, compete on an even playing field in that regards, I think we can give them a good competitive game.
Coach, I greatly appreciate your time. Best of luck against Sheridan Friday night.
Appreciate you. Thank you.